I would first like to acknowledge that this is a difficult transition for the affected officers and their families. With that in mind, let me explain what GovTech has done internally, how we intend to strengthen conviction in our public mission, and how we are continuing to support our officers through this change. The Ministry was consulted on GovTech's workforce transformation plan, and we support it. The transformation will be implemented progressively over 2 years to give officers time to adjust. GovTech will also incorporate lessons learned from each phase. The workforce transformation is a necessary part of GovTech's shift from a one-off project delivery model to a continuous product ownership model. GovTech's workforce will grow because of this shift, but its composition will also need to change. GovTech officers will need to take greater end-to-end responsibility for the digital products and platforms that the public interact with, while continuing to partner with the industry where vendors bring specialized expertise. Teams that own the products must not only design and build them, but must also maintain and improve them continually to provide more reliable, secure, and responsive digital services for our citizens. GovTech is therefore hiring more software engineers, product managers, designers, data specialists, cybersecurity experts, and platform engineers. However, as GovTech builds more products and operates them in-house, it will need fewer officers doing traditional project and vendor management. GovTech anticipated this need to reshape its workforce. For several years, through natural attrition and targeted recruitment, its workforce profile has shifted, but not enough to meet our needs. Therefore, GovTech has also invested heavily in pilots and apprenticeships to retrain existing staff for new roles or to redeploy them. But there are limits to its pace and scale. Meanwhile, technology is changing fast, and GovTech must keep up, because if we fall behind, the quality of our digital products and services for our citizens will suffer. We will retrain and redeploy as many officers as we can, but we cannot avoid having to transition out some officers. We recognize the disruption this causes to the affected officers and their families, and we will support them fully through this process. The first phase will affect 305 GovTech officers. Of these, 102 officers have been retained or redeployed into roles where their skill sets are still required. 110 are being supported through structured job conversion and apprenticeship pathways, and 93 are being retrenched. In deciding whether to retain, place on apprenticeship pathways, or retrench officers, GovTech first assessed the job roles it needed for its future organizational and capability needs. Then it assessed individual officers based on their competencies, domain expertise, job fit, and readiness for the roles required. GovTech also consulted technology leaders in our government agencies, including CIOs and practice leads, but it took the final workforce decisions centrally. Among the 93 exiting officers, the largest age group is 40 to 49. This age group accounts for 42% of the exiting officers and also 42% of the 305 affected officers. This age group is therefore not overrepresented among the exiting officers. There is no significant difference in tenure between the exiting officers and those on retraining pathways. The exiting officers have served for a median of 5.4 years, compared to a median of 6 years for the officers on retraining pathways. As for seniority, 2/3 of the affected officers were individual contributors, and 1/3 of them were team leaders. GovTech decided to be upfront in informing the affected officers about the transition plans to help them evaluate possible redeployment opportunities against other options. Where there was a suitable pathway, GovTech has retrained and redeployed its officers before considering external recruitment. The apprenticeship pathways provide full salary, structured training, and on-the-job learning to support officers in developing capabilities required under GovTech's future operating model. Where there was no suitable role within GovTech, affected officers were supported in seeking opportunities in the public and private sectors. GovTech is working with the Public Service Division, SWDA, and NTUC's E2I to facilitate job matching and referrals. Together, we identified a good mix of more than 300 job opportunities that are relevant to the affected officers' competencies. Officers interested in these options are currently in the application or interview stages. Affected officers also receive financial and transition support, career guidance, and active job placement assistance. GovTech will take the same approach in subsequent phases. We will strive for clarity on the roles and capabilities required, assess officers fairly against those requirements, retain and retrain where suitable, and support those who are retrenched. The outcomes of the transformation will be assessed across 3 areas. First, whether officers have been supported through meaningful transition pathways, including retraining, conversion, and redeployment where appropriate. Second, whether GovTech has strengthened the capabilities required for its future operating model. And third, whether GovTech successfully delivers more secure, reliable, and effective digital services for government agencies and citizens. As the plans for subsequent phases firm up, GovTech will inform the officers affected of the timelines and implications for them. GovTech's leadership will continue to engage officers throughout the transformation and work closely with agencies to ensure that critical projects and public digital services remain supported during the transition. To sustain staff morale, GovTech has conducted town halls and dialogues at the cluster, team, and individual levels. We seek to ensure that our staff understand not just what they are building, but why it matters. And this fosters a shared sense of purpose and commitment to building technology for public good. For the wider public service technology workforce, mid-career professionals in project and vendor management do bring valuable and transferable experience that can serve as useful foundations for product-oriented roles. However, these officers will still need to acquire relevant skills such as agile delivery, user-centered design, cybersecurity, and knowledge of data and cloud technologies. We recognize that technology will continue to evolve, and the skills required of our technology professionals will also have to evolve in tandem. The government is committed to building a strong pipeline of digital tech talent to meet the growing demand for digital capabilities across the public and private sectors. We will continue to support workers, including mid-career professionals, through initiatives such as IMDA's Tech Skills Accelerator. The Institutes of Higher Learning, the IHLs, will also equip students with product management capabilities through coursework and internships. Within the public service, GovTech's Digital Academy plays a key role in building these capabilities by providing structured learning pathways and programs on designing and managing products and platforms. We will continue to work with the industry and IHLs to ensure that training opportunities are available for Singaporeans to reskill and upskill to take on roles in growing digital fields, including digital product management and ownership.
Acting Minister Lau, just to be clear, your answer is a response to questions 19 to 25 listed in today's order paper, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you. Order, Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I seek your consent and the general assent of members present to move that question time at this day's sitting be exempted from the provisions of Standing Order number 22.1 so as to enable questions for oral answer to continue until the completion of question number 25, including supplementary questions.
I give my consent. Does the Leader have the general assent of honourable members present to so move? Leader, please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I move that notwithstanding Standing Order number 22.1, question time at this day's sitting continue until the completion of question number 25, including relevant supplementary questions thereon.
The question is, as moved by the Leader of the House, those who agree say aye. Those who disagree say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. And now we can take some supplementary questions. Associate Professor Kenneth Goh.
Thank you, Speaker, and I thank Acting Minister Lau for her responses. I just have two short SQs. I note that she has mentioned that GovTech will continue to hire talent in this space. And so my question is whether the ministry is aware of how this major restructuring effort will affect GovTech's reputation and attractiveness for future talent acquisition and retention. My second SQ has to do with whether this exercise has caused staff to be more cautious and whether that might affect GovTech's innovative culture and what are steps being taken to preserve that culture of innovation that is prevalent within GovTech. Thank you.
Acting Minister Lau.
Thank the member for his question. We will continue to do our best in talent attraction and retention. We will explain the new roles that we are hiring for, which are also closely aligned to the skills that are being taught in our IHLs today. And it's related to your second question on an innovative culture. We will have to convince all of our existing GovTech staff and also new recruits that the way we approach our work in GovTech is in service of Singapore. So it's not about being careful or innovative for the sake of doing so, but it has to be done because that's the only way that we can create and deliver better services for Singapore. Thank you.
Mr. Patrick Tee.
Yeah, thanks, Acting Minister, for a response. As we help workers move forward, I have three SQs. Firstly, what lessons from this GovTech's experience from this round will inform subsequent rounds? Because I know this is not the end. Second SQ will be on, I know some anxieties from those who are on term contract and which are extended but without being offered a permanent role. And for GovTech officers on contract for service or term contracts, will their roles be more impacted by this change in operational model for GovTech? And my third SQ is, you mentioned earlier 40 to 49 years old, they comprise 42% of those that are being affected. What is the percentage of those affected who are above 50 years? Thanks.
Acting Minister Lau.
I thank the member for his question. Perhaps I will share two lessons from this first phase. First, on how officers experience the transition itself. We have found that officers who have to spend an extended period on a pathway towards exit, even with the support in place, this creates prolonged uncertainty and anxiety for them, both for them and also for the teams that they are in. So going forward, GovTech will aim to shorten this period wherever possible so that officers reach clarity on their next steps more quickly rather than remaining in a state of limbo for longer than necessary. Another lesson we have learned is on how this transformation can be understood or may have been understood outside of GovTech. Some of the messaging around this restructuring may have given the impression that GovTech intends to move all work in-house and not use vendors anymore. That is not the case. Vendors continue to play an important role, particularly where they bring specialized expertise that complements our in-house teams. What is changing is that GovTech is taking greater ownership of the products that we build and the platforms that we deliver. We will be clearer on this distinction in how we communicate future phases so that our partners and the industry understand exactly what is and what is not changing. On the second contract on contract staff, we do have contract staff across GovTech in different roles, in cybersecurity, in data management, in user design, and etc. For contract officers who are in project and vendor management roles, then it is more likely that they will be affected by the workforce transformation plans going forward. Sorry, can you repeat the third question? Above 50, that's right. On the proportion of affected workers above the age of 50, I believe the number is about 30%. Thank you.
Mr. Louis Chua.
Thank you, Speaker. Just one question for Acting Minister. I think in the letter by GovTech Chair, it was said that GovTech requires people who can define the problem, shape the architecture, and more importantly, that the shift began years before the current AI wave. So my original PQ still remains in that given that we already know that this is going to be coming for a few years ago, what then is the so-called skills gap or competency gap that was really missing in these retrenched workers, and particularly when they are in the age of about 40 to 49, these would be quite flexible mid-career workers. Why is it that even as the transformation was anticipated, they were not being able to kind of be repositioned for another role within the public service? Thank you.
Acting Minister Lau.
Thank the member for his question. As I explained earlier, we've tried in different ways through apprenticeships and pilots and training programs to convert as many of our staff as possible, and also to allow natural attrition to take place. Unfortunately, it is the pace and the scale of the changes that have required us to take the current steps. I think for many of our affected officers, we also want to give them a chance to consider whether the conversion to these new roles is something they want to do, because their competencies and their skill sets are still in demand, both in other public service agencies as well as in the private sector. So we want to avail to them all opportunities possible and let them consider if there are opportunities that match their skill sets as well.
Mr. Andre Loh.
Thank you, Speaker. I have 3 SQs for Acting Minister. First is, I think it's not very clear, so I'd like the Minister to clarify if the affected 93 workers that have been retrenched have already stopped working, or alternatively, are they actually being supported through their transition while remaining on payroll? I'm not clear what the arrangement is. And if it's not that they're being supported through their transition and remaining on payroll, if this will be considered for both the current phase and subsequent phases. This is a practice that my previous employer did, and I thought it was a very good one as we transition workers out of the company. Secondly is, has the government already exhausted all public sector and public service opportunities for these 93 retrenched workers, or is that part of the subsequent transition phase post-retrenchment? And thirdly, will the government commit to monitoring the outcomes of these affected workers over the next 6 months or perhaps a year and commit to publishing them? Thank you.
Acting Minister Lau.
I thank the member for his question. I will reverse the order in how I respond. We chose to inform the affected officers early after we completed our internal capability assessments and then determine which roles we needed going forward. And we wanted to also give them early and direct communication because we think it serves the officers better. Now, matching an officer to a role in other government agencies is not something GovTech can do unilaterally by just comparing a resume against a list of vacancies. Every receiving agency and team has its own hiring process, which includes interviews, assessments, and an assessment for fit. And an officer has to actively take part in that process for a match to happen at all. So we wanted to do the communication early, give them some time and support to explore all options. We curated the list of more than 300 job opportunities, and some of the officers are now in the application and interview stages. All 93 officers are still on GovTech payroll. What we have done is to give them enough time after the notification to let them do both work handover and also look for alternative opportunities around. I also just want to give a shout out to all of them. Many of them are focusing very much on the handover of the work. And some even tell us that they will do that first before they look around for opportunities elsewhere. We in GovTech are extremely grateful to them because they have helped us build up our digital products and services over the years. We will continue to give them support for as long as they need, and we intend to monitor all of them, all 93 of them, and any future GovTech officers who are retrenched. We intend to monitor their progress through the job placement efforts to make sure that they have a good landing.
Mr. Sharul Taha.
I'd like to thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank Acting Minister for her responses. Two SQs for me. Firstly, thank you to all our GovTech officers for the amazing work that they do on the digital products that we all enjoy. But as automation and AI continue to reshape digital jobs, how will the ministry ensure that the government remains an employer that proactively invests in continuous skills renewal to prevent further redundancy? My second SQ is, does the ministry see this as a structural change from project delivery to product ownership, especially so since we're rolling out more AI capabilities, more AI agents, and the need to manage such agents, and whether the industry will see this similar change, and whether do we have sufficient talent in the pipeline to address this? Thank you.
Acting Minister Lau.
The member for his question. Yes, GovTech will continue to invest in the skills of our officers. Just to give you a sense of what apprenticeships look like and how we retrain and invest in our officers, our apprenticeships that we run for officers that have to go into new roles, they run from between 12 to 18 months. They are conducted on a full-time basis within a product team. Officers gain practical experience in the role that they have been mapped to. Every apprentice is given an assigned mentor, clear learning objectives, and they have regular developmental check-ins at key milestones throughout the 12 to 18 months, and then they go through a conversion assessment at the end of their apprenticeship period. This is extremely resource-intensive, but also demonstrates our commitment to ensure that all suitable officers who are put through these pathways do have a good outcome at the end of it. The second question on whether or not it's a structural change in capabilities, I think overall we've tried to explain the shift we are making towards product management and away from traditional project and vendor management roles. We are not moving 100%. We do recognize that there are still many projects that are being managed with vendors, and we also value the expertise that industry and vendors bring. I think overall, across the industry, while we do see some shift towards more product management roles, there is clear recognition, whether in the public or private sectors, that vendors remain a key partner in our digital ecosystem. And therefore, going forward, we still expect to work very, very closely with them. As for AI and the technologies and the benefits that AI will bring, we think that they can be brought on even as we move into product management, as long as we ensure that our product managers and software engineers have a good grounding in AI, then any future products they build through a product management model can have AI already infused in them. Thank you.
Mr. Yip, do you want a last SQ? I'm not forcing you if you don't have any.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the Acting Minister for her reply. I think my question is building on Sharul's question, and you have explained the movement towards product ownership. However, with AI fundamentally changing the economics of developing digital services, for example, reducing development time, lowering costs, and enabling small teams to deliver more, if so, how are you rethinking about reshaping the future workforce, and especially in terms of capturing the productivity gains and at the same time creating meaningful careers for our GovTech officers? Thank you.
Acting Minister Lau.
I thank the member for his question. I think a proper treatment on how we will use AI in GovTech and across the public service will require a separate question and debate on its own. But I think, as I explained earlier, we want to make sure that all of our GovTech officers have a good foundation in AI, first of all, so that as they build the existing products, as they improve, maintain the existing products, they are able to infuse some benefits of AI into these services. I also want to end off by saying that transformation is never easy, and this is not a story about GovTech needing fewer people who care about public service. It is about GovTech needing more people equipped to build and own the technology that Singaporeans depend on in the long run. And we build for Singapore. We will not lose sight of it. And that is GovTech's mission before this transformation, and it remains true today. Thank you.